Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about opportunities for you guys to still own in Boston. I know it's really expensive and sometimes it feels like it's an unattainable goal, but you can. There's a ton of resources available right now. And what I wanted to do was make you guys aware of all of those opportunities so that you can take advantage of them. Because when the funds run out, that's it. So we want to make sure as many people can become homeowners as possible. So my name is Denisha McDonald. I am the founder of Our Village Initiative. We are a social impact consulting firm focused on financial empowerment and homeownership because we want to help people understand and better manage their finances so that you can purchase a home or buy real estate if that's your goal, so that you can build wealth for you and for your family. You want to start breaking generational curses and focus on legacy. And what does that look like to build solid legacies for our families? So the agenda for tonight, we're going to be talking about the current real estate market, kind of what it's doing, what does it look like, what do you guys think it looks like, what is affordability, or how can you make it affordable for you, what programs are out there, the facts about affordable ownership here in Boston, and then an opportunity that you may or may not be interested in, and kind of next steps if you are interested in moving forward or want more help in terms of being connected to resources. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of Price is Right. So trying to see what you guys know the prices are of things in Boston. So in the chat, how much do you think a 2-bedroom is renting for in Boston right now? We're going to pick Roxbury, Mattapan, Dorchester, Hyde Park areas. Yes, there are other neighborhoods, but we know those prices are a lot higher. So I'm going to pick the ones where they're still lower than everyone else. What do we think a 2-bedroom is renting for right now? Okay, we got over 2,000, 2,500, 24. Yup. Good guess, guys. So right now, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 2-bath rentals in Boston, in those neighborhoods that I just told you about 1,000 square feet or so. They're between $2,400 and $3,000, depending on the condition. Surprisingly, the one on the image you guys see on the right is that was the cheapest one. So that one rented in the last 6 months for $2,450, right? You would think it would rent for a lot more, but it came with really strict requirements, right? They wanted you to have over a 700 credit score, no pets allowed at all. They did have the in-unit washer and dryer. They're very strict in terms of what they want. They wanted first, last, security, broker's fee, all the things, right? So it's a lot of money that you have to come out of pocket with. And when we're looking at the fee range, I put it down here for you guys. You're going to be paying between $2,450 and $3,000 a month. But to move in, just to move in, you're going to be paying between $7,000 and $9,000. And that's if they're not asking for a broker's fee. If they're asking for a broker's fee, or they're asking for all four, so first, last, security, and broker's fee, that would go up to $12,000. So I based it on if they're only asking for 3 things, 3 months rent ahead of time, right? So that's a lot of money when we think about renting. So now let's look at owning. How much do you guys think a 2-bedroom condo or a 2-bedroom single family in Boston costs right now? Are we thinking it's like 200,000, 300,000, 500,000, $1 million? What do you think it is? 300,000, okay. 500,000, good, okay. One more. What do you guys think the price is right now for just a 2-bedroom condo, townhouse, single family home? Because they're all about the same at this point, from being honest. I love that, $479. So you are all technically correct, depending on where you're buying and the condition of the house. So looking at 2 bedrooms in Boston, this one, I believe, was in Mattapan, that sold recently for $554. So pretty much $555. And it ranges from the 500s to up to $800,000 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, single family condo or townhouse in the city of Boston right now. When we look at our down payment programs, there are a lot of different programs available that people can work with. So you can have to pay $8,000 all the way up to $28,000 to own one of these, right? So you're anywhere within this range in terms of the purchase price. And you can see the lower the price, probably the more work you probably have to do for the unit to get it up to standards if you want a more modern look. So what we see in these images that, I could live in it, but it's not up to, modern with all the stainless steel appliances and everything else like that. Okay. Should we all move to Rhode Island? No, you don't have to move to Rhode Island. There are opportunities, right? So what do you guys think for a 3-bedroom, which the numbers for 3 bedrooms are scary right now. What do you guys think a 3-bedroom rental is going for right now? 3,800. Yep, I see. I'll save you guys. So we're seeing, some are even $4,000. So $2,700 to $3,900. So $4,000 pretty much, depending on where it is. And again, the condition. The ones that are $2,700 most likely needs, it's older. You might have wood panels on the walls. The bathrooms might be back in the day where they're pink and blue and all of the colors, right? So the more affordable it is, there's usually a reason why it's that affordable, right? We're looking at the range. So now to move into this rental that needs updating, so you probably don't have in-unit washer and dryer, probably don't have parking, they probably won't allow you to have pets, and it's most likely not updated at that $2,700 price, they still want you to move in with $8,000. So if you don't have $8,000, they're not working with you. They can't help you. Go find another apartment. And you still need to have above usually a 650 or 700 credit score to get into them, right? So when we think about ownership for a 3-bedroom, just around 1,200 to 1,500 square feet, the sales price is actually very similar to a 2-bedroom when you're thinking of ownership, because it's already kind of maxed out in terms of the prices. So we're ranging from 510 to 810. So 500,000 to 800,000 again, when you're looking at buying a 3-bedroom condo, townhouse, or single family in the city of Boston. So your payments, again, range from $7,000 up to $28,000 in terms of down payment money that you need to come up with. You still need to come up with, we'll say about double that for when you're buying a home, because you also need to pay for closing costs, right? And there's some strategies around that as well. So you might be wondering, what does affordable mean, right? So for you guys, and I want you to start thinking about it, it should be how much can you comfortably afford to spend on housing? I think a lot of times there are people who are spending 50% of their income, 70% of their income just to make sure they can have a place to live, right? Because with a 3-bedroom at $3,500, how much do you need to make to comfortably afford that, right? So when you're doing the math, you want to take your income, your gross income. So before they take out all the taxes and all of that, and do 30% of that income to figure out what is comfortable for you. That's what the government does, what the city does when they're calculating affordability. What is 30% of your gross income? And that's what they want you, or they feel comfortable and confident that you can afford or comfortably afford to live in the city. So when you're doing the math, check to see how much of your income is actually going towards housing versus everything else that you're responsible for, okay? Because we want to make sure, even though you're paying this price for rent, we convert that to ownership because it's going to be the same number for ownership. We want it to be below 30% of your income. Can you still afford all the necessities of life, right? Can you afford groceries and feeding your family? Can you still afford your car and transportation? Those are things that you need to survive. But if most of your money is going to rent, that means there's a lot of hungry nights, right? And that's not great. We want to make sure that you guys are comfortable with that. And making sure you have those reserve funds and money in there so that you can have the money for when you have to move in, okay? So to make sure you guys are comfortable with living in the city, you need to know your numbers. You do have to sit down. You do need to create a budget. I highly recommend you do it so that you know what your numbers are. So when you're looking at rentals and you're looking at opportunities, you're trying to take that into consideration. And again, if you have kids, you're looking at the neighborhoods, all of the factors, make sure you're taking that into consideration. We want to help you put a plan together so that you can execute the minimum requirements. If you know landlords are looking for a 650 credit score, you should spend the time to repair your credit to get to that 650. Because complaining or disputing or begging for them to take a chance on you because you have a 600 or you have a 580 is not going to help you, right? Do the work to get to the $650, because that's also what you need if you're trying to buy a home. So put in the work now, because you know that's going to be a requirement, whether you're renting or you're owning, right? And again, think of how much you need to move in. It's really hard to save when you're always at the top of your budget. So doing the math to make sure what makes sense. Someone earlier said, move and buy in Rhode Island. I don't think you need to do that, but for some people, it might be the best option for them. Others, it might be where you're not living in Boston. You might live outside of Boston while you're renting, so that you can save up to own a home, because you need to have some money or some skin in the game, right? And then to seek out resources, which is what you guys did tonight, right? You came to this to learn about what tools and resources are out there to help you be able to buy. So what I want to go over now is there's a ton of grant money. COVID was awful. But in the midst of that, there were a lot of blessings that came out of it, right? There's a lot of government funding that was poured into and invested in home ownership and housing in general. And the city, the state, they have a deadline by when they have to spend or give away all of this money. And they've chosen to give it back to the people, right? And give it to you so that you can buy, that you can invest in staying in the city, so that it remains diverse, it remains a great place to live, so that we all are invested in it and are not at risk of being displaced or forced to move out. So we're going to talk about the Mass Dreams program. There are two entities that sponsored this Mass Dreams. It was Mass Housing and then MHP, so Mass Housing Partnership. The Mass Housing Grant, they used all of their money last year. It lasted, I think, 79 days. All of the funding was gone. They were giving up to $50,000 to first-time home buyers to help you with your down payment to purchase a home. Now, their funding is gone, so they no longer offer any assistance from that program. They still have assistance, and we'll talk about that later. But Mass Dreams is still alive and well with MHP. Which is for their program, you need to make below 100% of the area median income. And I'll show you what that means later on. So if you want to take screenshots of these, you can. I'll send you guys a copy of the recording as well, so you can rewatch it. They give you 5% automatic. Before, what they did was they'd calculate how much you needed and give that to you. Now they've just made it an automatic 5% of the purchase price of a home. And then they pay all of your closing cost, so that you only have to come up with your portion and they cover everything else. The great part is it's a grant, right? Usually we hear about these programs, it's a loan so that you have to pay it back when you sell or you refinance your home. Now it's a grant. So that's instant equity for you. And that's instant money towards kind of paying down your mortgage, that you can be truly a homeowner with a zero mortgage in the future, right? They're giving you 5% of that purchase price, up to $50,000. So the next program is the One Plus Boston. This one is exclusive to City of Boston residents, or if you work in the City of Boston. So either you are a resident, so you live in Boston, or you may not live in Boston, but you work in Boston, and they ask for documentation on that. So this is open to those two groups, right? And you get an interest rate reduction. So right now, interest rates hover around 7%, right? We're at 6.5%, 7% interest rate. And with this program, they reduce that for you. So while everyone else in the open market might be paying 7%, you could be paying 6.5%, 6%. I have some people who closed even today. We had a closing today, and their interest rate was 5%, right? And we have someone else who's locked in where their interest rate is going to be 4.8%, which is unheard of right now because we know interest rates are really high in purchasing a home. In addition, they also give you enhanced financial assistance. So they have even more programming in there, depending on your income, to help make it even more affordable for you to own in Boston. Because Boston sees a lot of its residents, the diverse neighborhoods are starting to shrink because people are moving out, right? They have to move to Brockton. They have to move to Attleboro. They have to move to Rhode Island, and they don't want that. They want people to stay. So they're providing these opportunities so that you can afford to stay. who are the realtors that are working with this grant. So realtors don't work with these grant programs. These are lenders. So different loan officers would be the ones that help you qualify for these. And you guys can email and reach out because there are a lot of different banks and lenders who offer it. Not all of them do. So you really need to know which ones to speak with, because others will tell you, oh, there's no more money. There is, they just don't offer that program, right? So you need to make sure you're talking to the right person. Can you do Mass Dreams and the One? Yes, you can. That's what we've been doing with folks who are closing on homes right now. They get 5% from, and it's not the One Plus Boston. So what they do is they get the 5% from Mass Dreams. We'll talk about the next program where they get 5% and they get the interest rate reduction from this One Plus Boston program. In addition, the city's allowing people to, as much assistance as you can get, they allow you to combine them so that people are getting even more, right? So they're looking at all of the resources available to them so they can get more money. So I wanted to show you guys the benefit of the One Plus Boston. On this chart, it shows you if you are pre-approved, so you go to the bank, you ask them, hey, I want to buy a house. I meet the requirements for credit. I have good income. I have no debt. I want to buy a house. And they say, I'm going to pre-approve you for $452,000. You're like, okay, we saw the prices for Boston. You're like, I can't really buy anything in Boston. So that doesn't really help me, even though I have a pre-approval. And I need to come out of pocket $13,000. I don't really have all that money. So I'm short. Help me. Okay. The One Mortgage is a program if you're buying outside of Boston. So they're showing you what they reduce it to. The One Plus Boston is what I want you guys to take a look at. They reduced the interest rate by a whole 1%. So it went from 6% to 5%. We'll talk about their down payment. They only require you to come to the table with 1.5% of the down payment. Usually it's 3% or 5% of the purchase price is what you need. So they slash that in half. So for a house that's $600,000, you now only need to come out of pocket $9,000 as opposed to 13. Your interest rate is at 5%, right? And you do not have something called mortgage insurance, which is something that the banks charge you. It's the dumbest thing, but they do. If you don't put down 20% on a house, they think that you are a risk and they charge you for that. So now they make you pay extra every month in case you miss payments and they have to foreclose on you and take back the house. They're charging you for that, right? So with the One Plus Boston, you don't have that fee anymore, right? So we're looking at, if I had to buy in the regular market as a regular person paying with no help, I would have to pay $3,600 a month to own a house that costs $450,000. However, with the One Plus Boston, with all of their benefits, right? And this doesn't even include all of the down payment assistance programs that we're going to be talking about, right? With just me having to pay less than the down payment and their interest rate help, it reduced my payment by $200. So I'll be paying $3,400 to own a house that costs more, right? With all of their assistance compared to if I didn't have this opportunity or this assistance to help me. So with the One Plus Boston, you're now able to buy at today's Boston prices, right? If you get pre-approval for $450, it's going to be you and probably 100 other people fighting over that house because that price is low. So a lot of people are going to compete. The higher the prices, there's less people who can afford it. So there's less competition. Now you can play because you're pre-approved for $600,000. So that's what they have there. The next program is through the city of Boston, is the first time home buyer program where the city automatically gives you 5% of the purchase price of the home. So remember we talked about Mass Dreams. Now you can combine Mass Dreams 5% with the city of Boston 5%. And if you qualify for the One Plus Boston, you can combine those two with that to get the lower interest rate, to get the no insurance that you have to pay, to get all of those benefits. They allow you to combine all of those resources to make homeownership more affordable. We just had someone close where they're going to own in Boston, where when we look at with all of these programs, their all-in cost to own a 1-bedroom in Boston is $1,200. That is cheaper than renting by at least $800, because a 1-bedroom in Boston is really $2,000 right now. So they're saving $800 a month because they were able to take advantage of all of these programs that are grants, so they don't have to pay it back, and they get this lower interest rate forever, right? So I want to make sure you guys can take advantage of these, because once this grant money is gone, right, it doesn't get replenished. It's a grant, so it's gone forever. We want to make sure you can qualify for it and take advantage of it. So with the City of Boston First-Time Homebuyer Program, you need to be a resident of the City of Boston or work in the City of Boston. You get the 5% automatic. And then they allow you to go higher in terms of your income. So you can earn more money because they want to help more people be able to buy. And then they give you also up to $50,000. So looking at all of the different purchase price, they give you a max of $50,000 to purchase. The most I've seen someone get was $98,000 by combining all of these different programs. So there's a lot of money out there. They want to give it away. They want to help people be able to buy. Okay. So we talked about mass housing not having funding anymore for their mass dreams. However, they do have their own down payment program where they're still giving you money. It's just now, instead of it being a grant, it's a loan that you don't have to make. They have 2 types. One where you don't have to make payments until you sell the house or refinance the house, and one where they charge you 2% interest to use it, and you pay it back over 15 years. They have 2 different programs that you can use. Again, this is for those of you who earn a lot more income than the numbers that we're going to talk about later. And it's up to $50,000 if you're buying in the City of Boston and then 28 other cities and towns around Massachusetts. And then for all other Massachusetts communities, you'll get up to $30,000. So if you still can't buy in Boston after you do the math and you talk to the loan officer, know that there's still down payment assistance out there to help you and make sure you can buy a home. So I'm going to answer questions in the chat. If you guys want to put them in the chat, as long as they are going with where I am in the presentation, I'll happily answer them, but I'll go over everything in the end either way. Okay. So can you do Mass Dreams and 1+ at the same time? Yes, you can do Mass Dreams, the 1+ Boston and the City of Boston First-Time Homebuyer Program. And you can also do this one that I'm talking about next, which is the Stash Program. This is a matched savings program for first-generation homebuyers. What does that mean? You need to be the first in your family to purchase a home. So if your parents owned, then you don't qualify, right? You need to be the first in your family to own a home. They do go back and check records, it's public records to see. And how it's set up is they want to help you build strong financial habits, right? So you will save $2,000 while being enrolled in this program, right? They want to see you deposit the money into your account every month. So once you're able to save $2,000 in their program, they will now match that up to, well, we'll say between $10,000 and $20,000, right? And the amount is also based on all of the other assistance that you're getting from the City of Boston and Mass Dreams and all of these programs. It's crazy. They're allowing you to combine everything so that you can actually afford to buy, because it's writing down your mortgage significantly. Okay. So again, you need to be a first-generation home buyer. You need to take a CHAPA approved first-time home buyer class. And I can put the link in the chat after. So those are classes. They're 8 hours long. It's usually either 2 Saturdays for 4 hours, or two days for 4 hours, or 4 days for 2 hours each, right? So it's an 8-hour class. You get a certificate that's valid for 3 years that you would use to go apply for any of these down payment programs. If you don't have that certificate, you can't apply for any, you're not eligible for any of this down payment, any of them. Okay. You need to earn 100% of the area median income. Again, later in the presentation, just remember, you'll see what those numbers actually look like in terms of a salary. And then they do have a minimum, right? So you need to earn a minimum of $45,000. You might be saying, well, why 45,000? Well, based on the sales prices of homes across the state, that's about where you need to be in order to afford to purchase anything substantive in Massachusetts. And these funds you have to buy in Massachusetts. You can't take it and then go to Connecticut or go to Atlanta or anything like that. These are to help people stay in Massachusetts, and even more specifically, stay in Boston. Okay. So, and then you must also, in addition to your certificate class, you need to attend 8 one-hour sessions to help you with financial education. So helping you learn how to budget, helping you learn how to repair your credit and what does it look like, helping you learn how to pay off debt. So you take those classes and you save, and they are able to help you or give you that $10,000 to $20,000. So someone asked, how do you apply for all of these programs? Well, the City of Boston has some of it on their website. I will send you guys links to everything after this session, so you'll have those in an email that you can refer back to. And I'll prioritize in terms of what you need to do first, because if you have a 500 or a 600 credit score and you're applying for all of this assistance, they're going to say denied because you don't meet the requirement, right? They all want you to have a 640 credit score. So we need to make sure our credit is right. In order for you to get a pre-approval from a bank, you need to not have a whole ton of debt. So we want to make sure we're doing all the things so that when we go speak to them and apply for all of this assistance, we're ready, right? So that's what we do. What I do and what my company does is help you get ready so that we make sure you get this money. Right before this session, I was on the call with someone where she doesn't have all of the money for the down payment. So I was talking to her and her loan officer to make sure it's like, we need to come up with 10%. Where are we going to get it? She's on the higher income scale, so she couldn't get the up to 50 from all of these different pots, but we're able to put it together and structure all of these down payment programs so that now she can work towards getting her pre-approval and submitting an offer on a home that she really wants. So now we're talking about the fact versus the fiction when we think about affordable deed restricted homeownership. Okay. So I think a lot of times when people think of affordable housing, so I'll say affordable housing, they think of rentals and they think of Section 8 or public housing. When we talk about homeownership, these are, you get the same quality of homes as the person who's buying market rate. You get the same, they have to build a certain number that are market rate for people who can afford that. And then they build them for people who, you're a hardworking citizen. It's just you can't pay $600,000 for a 2-bedroom condo in Boston, right? But you still want to own and you still deserve to own a home, right? They're saying if you're willing to put in the work and meet us halfway, so with your credit, with the debt, all of those, with your savings, the city's willing to meet you halfway. And it's literally, right now, I'm not going to lie, it's literally like half. So when we think of what market rate homes are selling for, the affordable deed restricted opportunities that the city of Boston has is almost half the price. So when we look at right now, on one of the projects I'm working on, they have 3-bedroom condos that are selling for just under $400,000. I think it's like $379, right? Market rate for the exact same thing, if you're going to buy it, you're looking at close to $1 million because of the location of it. So they're getting it for even less, so like almost a third of the price of what the other people are selling. You might say you're exaggerating, Denisha. I'm not, right? So across the street from this affordable deed restricted condo is a market rate condo. They have the same views or similar views, about the same size. The affordables have more amenities in this space, and they're selling for 1.2 million. It's kind of where their prices start for these 3 bedrooms. So understand what's going on in the market when we think of affordable versus market rate units. Okay. So people think, talking about the facts, that you don't get equity when you buy a deed restricted house in the city of Boston. That's not true, right? You won't get the same amount as your neighbor, right, if they were to sell their market rate home, but you do get to gain some equity. The city goes between 3 and 6%. I'm not sure what the actual number is right now. So it's always between 3 and 6% in terms of how much equity or value you can increase your home every year over time. And it's compounding. So you get the 3% increase this year. Then next year, they take that new total and they add another 3% on top of that. And then the next year, they take that new total and add another 3% on top of that. So you do get to gain equity, and your home does increase in value over time, right? It's not the same as, let's say, in Roxbury, I'll use Hyde Park as numbers, right? 5 years ago, you could have gotten, now it's probably 10, a 3-family for $500,000. You will be hard pressed to find a 3-family today under $1 million, right? So you wouldn't get the same increase as your neighbor who had a market rate unit, but you would get some equity, right? You get to walk away with some profit from that home, depending on the market, okay? The property loses value. Like I said, as the market goes up, your home value goes up. If the market comes down, then you are at the same risk as someone with a market rate unit, because the prices just won't match, right? We live in Boston, so prices tend to be stable. They don't drop drastically compared to other cities and states. When we had the market crash back in 2008, a lot of the housing market around the country literally crashed. That was not the case for Boston because it held its value. And you're like, why? Well, because we have some of the best hospitals, we have some of the best colleges. So we have a lot of infrastructure in Boston where people are always going to need housing. So even if you couldn't afford it, you could get a tenant in to fill that need, right? And the prices back then were such that people could maintain their homes. Okay? So you must stay until the loan is paid off. That's another myth, right? You can live it as long as you own it, you have to live in it, right? So it's 30 years is kind of how long the city, if you own it, right? After that time frame, then it becomes a market rate unit. But as long as you own it, you can't turn it into a rental property, right? You have to live there. But if you decide after 5 years, after 2 years, after 1 year, that, I'm moving, I got a job promotion and they're sending me to DC, you can sell it. Right? They're not saying that you have to live there or you're trapped and you can never move out. You just have to sell it. And the reason why we talk about equity, the city doesn't allow you to gain the same sales price as your neighbor who has a market rate unit is, think about it. I just gave you an example. If they sold it to you for $300,000, right? And your neighbor could sell it for $9 million, right? That means it still costs the same. The city had to put all of that money in to buy it down to a price that you can afford. What they want is when you sell it at a price the next you, so the future you, the next person in line, can also afford to buy a unit just like you did and have an opportunity to save, right? So that you're not spending all of your money to be house poor. So that's why they have, restrictions in terms of how much you can sell the home for, because they want you to pay it forward. The city helped you and allowed you to own, and they put the restriction that they want you to live there because they don't want you, again, taking the value out of that, because they did invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into it. They want you to pay that forward for the next person so they can also live the American dream. And I think that's fair. Okay. People think that, the units are poor quality and poor products. No, the city has standards. They have minimum standards that all contractors, all developers have to maintain to make sure that the units are safe, secure, quality. You should be in good standing with that. And they do not check your income every year. If you are living in an affordable rental, you have to income certify every year, which means they're going to check to make sure that you make below a certain amount. Because if you make above that, they say you're paying market rate or you need to move because you make too much money. With the affordable homeownership, I tell people you want to own one of these because the next day after you close, you can literally win the lotto, become a millionaire, and they can't ask you to sell because you own it. It's yours, right? They can't push you out of it. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment right now. If you guys have questions, you can put it in the chat. I'm going to scroll back up to see the one let me see. Let me put you guys on mute. Okay, so the questions that we have here that I didn't answer. Have you seen anyone use these programs for the construction loan? No. So these are meant for end product. So it would be you, let's say you found land, you'd have to work with a developer or contractor who's willing to build it, and then they have to find their financing, but there is financing available for, the developers or the contractors. And then at the end, you can combine all of these products to purchase the finished home. You can't use this to cover construction costs. They want you to buy the finished product, the home itself. So you cannot use it as a construction loan. It's only for the end user. What do you mean by not a whole lot of debt? So they don't want you to, let's say, so it's always a percentage of your income. So at most, depending on the loan product available and what you're using, you can't go over 43 to 45% of your total gross income for all of your debt. So that's your mortgage, or we can use your rent now. If you have car payments, if you have credit cards, if you have student loans, if you had personal loans, anything that shows up on your credit report, they're going to total all of that. And it needs to be less than, for simplifying this, less than half of your income, right? So that's when I said, although we live on the rental side, some of you are paying 50% of your income, 70% of your income towards rent. The lenders will not allow you to do that when you're buying a home, because that's not financially responsible. That puts you at risk. So if anything happens, right, you could be foreclosed on because you're going to miss payments. And the bank's like, well, why are you not paying me? You're paying everyone else. You're stretched thin financially. So that's why they set the cap, so that you're not spending all of your money towards housing and all of your money going towards all of this debt. So depending on the loan product, it ranges from 38% of your income all the way up. There's some that go up to 59% of your, not 59, sorry, 49% of your total gross income. Okay. So we don't want to have a lot of debt. And that's a calculation that we can work with you to figure out when we go over your budget. Or when you speak to a loan officer, they'll let you know kind of, you need to pay this down to this number. You need to pay this debt down to this number so that you can qualify for a mortgage. Okay. I want to know, okay, if you have a lot of student loans, what I'm telling, I have met and consulted with people who have ridiculously high student loans, who are not doctors, where I've seen the highest so far now is $150,000 in student loan debt, which is an astronomical amount. That's almost a mortgage. What I advise everyone to do, especially now since repayments have not started, they start September 1st, would be to speak with the servicer, so whoever holds your student loans, and ask them, can you go on an income-based repayment program, right? So now they're going to calculate what your repayment needs to be as a percentage of your income. And depending on how much you make, it will significantly lower how much you have to pay. I received an email last night from a lady. I gave her, that was her homework after our consultation. And she was responsible for paying almost $500 a month towards her student loans. She made the call, she qualified, and now she's paying under $200. I think she's at $159 is what her payment is going to be. So when we're thinking of putting a plan together for her to pay off her debt and for her to be able to buy a home, I'm like, well, we just found you over $300 a month. So I know that's not for you to spend. That's not for you to go on trips with. That's for you to now take that $300 that we saved and throw it towards paying off your debt, so that you don't have to worry about your debt to income ratio being too high. Right? So I encourage you, if you have a lot of student loan debt, you need to talk to your service provider to see if you qualify, if you're eligible for income-based repayment, and what that number will be, if it's going to be more affordable for you or not. Okay. That is something that they recertify every year. So for those of you who know you get a pay increase every year, or you're anticipating it, I say apply, because if you qualify today, they're not going to check again for another 12 months. You have another year, right? So you want to qualify now when your income is where it is. And if you get a pay raise next month or 2 months from now, it doesn't matter, right? You just take that increase and keep throwing it towards paying off all of your other debt so you can buy a house, right? When it comes to home ownership, especially in this time where homes are really expensive, you have to commit to yourself, commit to your family that this is something that you want, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to make that a reality, right? I have a family, they're closing next week. I sat with them and I said, you need to make Christmas. You're not having Christmas this year. That was this past Christmas. I'm like, tell the kids, you're foregoing gifts and all of that because you want to celebrate with them in your new home. And then you guys can have Christmas again. But the sacrifice for the family is we're not buying presents. We're not going out. We're not taking trips. We're taking all of our money, paying off as much debt as we can, and saving the minimum that we need to have. They did all of that and they closed next week on a home, right? Because they made the sacrifice. They knew the assignment and they did it, right? Because they wanted to own more than they wanted to enjoy whatever in the present. They wanted to enjoy for the future. And I'll let you guys know once we have their final numbers, what their housing cost is going to be to own a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo in Boston. I know it is around $2,000. It's nowhere close to $3,000. And I think it'll be lower because I got a note that they were able to lower that payment as well. Okay. So you have to make that sacrifice. How much is that comes from the state and federal taxpayers? So that is money from COVID. So it's actually money that the government gave out for all of the funds during COVID so that they can reboost the economy and help people because we were spiraling pretty much with people losing jobs. So it's a little bit different than coming out of your taxpayer money. That's actually money that's been assigned and delineated for a specific cause. What's your version of value? Value is in the eyes of the beholder, right? You know what you want to pay for a house, and it's up to you to find that price. If you're saying, I don't think I should pay more than $200,000 for a single family, you're free to have that opinion. Now you have to go find it wherever, right? Wherever that price is. When we're looking at real estate, Brockton used to be really affordable. It's not so much anymore, right? I'm not going to lie. Brockton prices are similar to Boston right now. The difference is you get more land and a bigger house. That's the Brockton market. Single families are in the 4s and in the 5s. Multifamilies are close to $1 million in Brockton right now. It's almost the same as Boston. It's just you get more land. Okay? So understand that all of those things are out of the government control. It's out of your control. It's just the free market, right? The seller says how much they want, and all they need to do is find a buyer who says, I'm willing to pay that. That's it. And then that's what's happened. And that's the new price point. Person says, Stephanie, you said you applied. I would say reach out to me and we can talk about that because that would be an individual. We'd have to look at the situation to find out why. Pre-approvals are always a percentage of your income. Okay. How do we look for homes for sale? So I would advise if you're looking for a home, you connect with an agent so you can get homes that are most current on the market and know what's available versus what's not. Zillow is usually where we all start. The issue with Zillow is they're a marketing company. So sometimes they will not mark a property under agreement or sold in a timely manner because they want you to call the agent or the person on the left of the screen or click that button to call for more information. Because every time you do that, the person on the other end had to pay Zillow for that call. So they use that as their marketing tool. So that's why I say get your agent, work with someone who understands the market, someone who understands your needs and can help you navigate all of these different programs. Can you use all of these programs and products and then also later on go to the city for additional services? Yes. So the city of this session is more focused on all of the down payment programs out there for you guys and a specific opportunity that's coming up that if you're interested, I want to make sure you're on the list so you do not fail to apply for it. But the city of Boston also has resources for homeowners so that you can, now that you own a house, what happens if your heater breaks? What happens if the home was older and it needs repairs, right? The city actually has funding for that. Again, you need to meet the income requirements because if you're a millionaire, I'm not giving you money because you don't need my money, right? So they want to help those who need the additional funds to make these things possible. It's 43% across the board. No, it depends on the loan product. So literally there are different loan types, and depending on what you qualify for, where your lender puts you, will determine what that debt to income ratio is. I do not know about buying homes in Puerto Rico because we're talking about the city of Boston right now. I will email this presentation to you guys once we are done. I'll give it a chance to upload and then send that out. You'll probably get that. If not by the end of this week, you'll get it next week, definitely. And I'll send you an email with all of the links and everything that you need. If you already own a home outside of Boston, unfortunately, these grants do not apply to you because you are not a first-time home buyer. You need to be a first-time home buyer because you could not afford to buy a house before. If you already own to the city or to lenders, you could turn that into a rental property and use that to buy your next property, or you could sell the one that you have and use that to buy another property. So you don't really need the money in terms of down payment assistance, right? And you don't necessarily need 20% down payment either. There are different programs and products and strategies to help you buy your next house without having to put down a lot of money. And there are some lenders or some other products outside of what's within the city of Boston where they can give you some down payment assistance. It looks a little bit different. There's a cost associated with it, but they make it work for you. And the last question was, does the lender put the interest rate on the loan? Yes, but the interest rate to a certain degree is determined by the federal government, right? So as they increase interest rates to curb inflation, lenders now have to increase their interest rate because they have to make a profit to stay in business, right? So whatever the federal government has, then there'll be a little spike up for what the lenders need to make their numbers work as well. So that's why we see interest rates have been steadily increasing over the past year. They've pretty much doubled in the past 12 months. So now we're going to talk about luxury living at a price you can afford. And people are like, well, what does that mean you can afford? It depends on your income. So we'll talk about it, right? Not all opportunities are for everyone. So we have to see where you fit in. And I tell people, get in where you fit in, right? So you might want a 3-bedroom single family home with a garage and a backyard, right? And in Boston, but if your income doesn't allow you to purchase that and you're single, maybe you start with a 1-bedroom, right? So that now you can save up so you can buy the 3-bedroom with the garage, with the backyard later on, right? So you get in where you fit in, because if it's cheaper for you to own than it is for you to rent, you need to put your effort into owning so that you can take that extra money that you're saving and put it towards investing or put it towards saving up to buy the next house. Right? It's to give you a leg up so that you're not left out or you don't end up living in Rhode Island when you don't want to be in Rhode Island. Okay. So now this one is a project that's coming to Mattapan. It's an Olmsted Green. I'm not sure if you guys have seen, this will be their next phase of development in that area. We're looking right pretty much behind the police station over there on Morton Street. This project, they're going to build over 80 condo townhouses. So as you can see, and they want to make sure as many people as possible who are interested, who are eligible, apply for these opportunities so that you can stay. I encourage you to take a drive by if you have not before. It's an amazing community. It looks just like in the photos, no exaggeration, where they have some that are single families, they have some that are attached, they even have some apartments in there as well, but trying to create a community where you have that suburban feel, but you're in the heart of Boston, okay? And it kind of, is on that border of Dorchester, Mattapan. So here is really what it looks like from a sky view. As you guys can see, it looks amazing. It feels like a community. There's a lot of green space. So we say, oh, there's no trees, there's no yard. Like, they try to put as much greenery in there as possible. They have over 22 acres. So they are going to keep building until they have an expansive community over there so that you guys can take advantage of. So I wanted to talk to you about, well, okay, they have these houses. What do they look like? How much are they cost? How much do they cost? So we're going to look at the prices now. So for a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, you guys can see on the floor plan what that looks like. The bedrooms are upstairs. You have your full bath, washer, dryer, thank God, on the same floor, so I don't have to walk up and down the stairs with it. And then the first floor is your open concept kitchen, living room, dining room, and you have a half bath. So great for entertaining. The sales prices for these, again, we'll go over the numbers in terms of the income later on. But it ranges from $275,000 all the way up to $420,000, depending on your income. Right? So they price it so that people at different income tiers have an opportunity to own. And it's not where, because you make more money, you can buy, but because you make a little bit less than her, you can't buy anything. They said, no, that's not fair. We want to help as many people be able to purchase a home as possible. So when we look at, I try to do math because, seeing $300,000 doesn't mean a lot to me because I don't live life on the $100,000 range. I just need to know how much it costs me month to month, right? So I try to do some of the math for you guys. This is an estimate. This is based on the projected or estimated sales prices, and also interest rates, which we know interest rates pretty much change every day, right? So this is just for illustration, but these were actually calculated by a loan officer a couple of weeks ago, so that you guys can see around where your payments would be. Could be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on the week. Okay, so for that 2-bedroom, you would be paying between $1,800 and $3,400, depending on your income. So that's the range to own and what your cost would be. And that includes your homeowners association fee. And that covers them shoveling your snow, making sure the grass is cut and the trees are well taken care of, making sure the outside of the building is well maintained. So that's what you're paying for that fee. And if you were to rent, right? So we're talking about renting versus owning, you'd be paying between, like we said before, that $3,400 and $3,000 to rent. I assume, well, I'll make the assumption, if you were to rent one of these, it would be significantly higher because you can see in the image, it's modern. These are new construction, well-maintained, even for the ones that have been built a few years ago. This is the quality of what they put into the homes, okay? So now let's look at the 3 bedrooms. If you have a larger family or a larger household, then what does that look like? They're just under 1,300 square feet. The first floor is amazing, especially if you have older parents. I like to think of intergenerational housing. So if they can't do the stairs, well, there's a bedroom on the first floor with a full bathroom. You have your open concept, again, for your kitchen, living room, dining room. And then upstairs, you have your 2 bedrooms, your washer, dryer, and then you have your full bath upstairs. So this works great when you have a larger family to make sure everyone kind of has their own little space and that it can work for you guys. The sales prices for these, again, these are estimated sales prices, are between $300,000 and just around $450,000, so $465,000, right? So these are the prices, and you're like, well, again, I don't know what these numbers mean. Taking it back into numbers that we live with, how much do I need to pay every month? You'd be paying between $2,000 and $3,800 to own versus to rent. Let's take that over to looking at market rate. If you were to rent one of these, you'd be paying between $27,000 and $4,000. And I would say you're really looking at $35,000 and up. Because of the quality of these, you would have parking, you would have a lot of the amenities that people tend to pay more money for. So it's going to cost more, right? So these are the numbers just for market rate in Boston. But for these, they would be on the higher end of that spectrum because, again, these are actual photos of the last phase of this development project. So you can see the quality of what they put into it and how they make it look and how they make it feel. So you might be wondering, how do I qualify? I'm interested. What do I do? Well, take a screenshot. This is the income that you need to make to qualify for these, depending on your income tier, right? So a one-person household, so the one PHH down to 6 PHH is a one-person household or a 6-person household going down. So if you're single and you want to buy one of these, at the different income tiers, if you make less than $83,120, then you would qualify at that sales price. If you made above that, so let's say $83,121, and less than $103,000, then you would qualify at the next income tier. And then we look at the other income tier. As long as you're above one but below the other, you fall into that bracket. Okay, so you guys can look and see where do you fall in terms of income to know if you qualify for any of these units at the different sales prices. And it's always a matter of the household income. So even if you are the person buying, but you're married or you have adult children, all of your incomes count towards qualifying for this, even though you might be the only one on the mortgage, because they want to make sure as a household, you actually need this assistance. Because if you're each making $100,000, but you're the one buying the house, then it's like, well, you all could put in your money and qualify for a house at market rate. You don't need my help, right? So they want to make sure that it's those who are priced out of the market have a fair opportunity to be able to purchase. What are the other qualifications? Again, you must be a first-time home buyer, because it's not fair for you to use, this discounted sales price and you already own a home, but you just want to live in a new construction house, right? You can buy market rate. They want to make sure this is for people who cannot buy otherwise, but for this opportunity. You'll need to get a pre-approval from a lender for the sales price. So you need to make sure you can afford it, right? You must be owner occupied, so you have to live in it. And if you have, I put Section 8 voucher holders specifically, if you have a BHA voucher, you also qualify because you get down payment assistance. And they also have assistance programs. We'll be talking about that on August 16th, the whole presentation, so you guys understand how to leverage the BHA voucher to purchase a home. And then to keep it fair for everyone, selection is based on a lottery. So it's not Tanisha comes in because I heard about it, I have the inside scoop, and I submit an offer and get my offer accepted. Nope. Everyone has it's usually about a month. You have a period of where we all apply for these units, and then they hold a lottery. And the lottery is to make sure that everyone has an equal and fair opportunity of being selected for one of these units, and they go through the lottery list. I will tell you guys, we're going through a lottery now for one of the projects I'm working on. Don't get discouraged if your number is like 2,000. Why? Because a lot of people don't qualify, or they may have purchased a home already, but the city hasn't updated that lottery list. So you could still get the call to move forward to buy a home, one of these lottery homes, okay? They give preference to Boston residents, and then if you need an accessible unit. So I talked about earlier some of the amenities for this, the Preserve at Olmsted Green. I want to show you guys, they have a community room. So it's called the Gateway Center, where it's on the premises. It's for you and for your family and your guests to use. So if you have to entertain, you're like, I don't want y'all in my house, I want everything separate from my house, you can use the Gateway Center, right? So they have space for entertaining. If you like to work out, you have your own gym, so you can cancel your Planet Fitness. You can cancel all of your gym memberships and utilize this gym. Outside, again, they have walking paths and nature trails. You can go for a nice walk outside and just enjoy nature and enjoy just life and crisp air. You're close to a lot of amenities where you guys can go and just, again, enjoy nature and take advantage of it. Public transportation is close by as well. So what I hold dear and what my company does is focus on how we help people build wealth. How do we help you get from living paycheck to paycheck to the next level? You might say, well, how can I do that with an affordable? Like, you put all these restrictions on me. I can't turn it into a rental. I can't sell it for the whole value that everyone else could sell a house for. How do I build wealth? Because this feels like a bad deal to me. Well, you have the opportunity to purchase at a price that other people can't, right? And if you don't like that, then you could go see if you qualify for the market rate unit. But they made it so that it's significantly discounted compared to a market rate unit so that you can afford it and you can afford the monthly payments, right? And the goal with that is the example I used earlier. If you're saving for that young lady who closed, she's saving, I know, $800 a month because her payments to own is $1,200. Market rate for the same unit should be paying about $2,000 minimum, right? So I know you have $800 that you're saving every month. What are you doing with that $800? Now that we were able to find you that, you should be able to take that and invest it. You can put it in the stock market. You can put it in mutual funds. You can put it in starting a business, going back to school. You have a lot of leverage because you have almost $1,000 extra a month that you can put into something that's going to build you wealth, right? You can put it in an account so that you can save to buy the next house, right? So the goal is to stabilize your cost of housing so that you can do other things. You don't have to worry about your income, right? As long as I say, once you buy the house, try to get every promotion there is because you want to leverage this opportunity to help you elevate and go to the next level. We talked about, taking the equity. You do get some equity. We have a lady who sold a few years ago. After owning for 10 years, she was able to walk away with $100,000 on one of these deed restricted affordable units. She sold it and moved into the neighborhood that she wanted, right? So she started in Roxbury. She raised her kids in Roxbury when it was a little bit less desirable than it is today. It's like the hot spot right now. And now she sold it and she lives in Roslindale in a beautiful home with a big backyard. And she took the money from her affordable sale and put that into the house that she wants to pass down to her children and her grandchildren and have the yard and everything. So again, there's ways to leverage these opportunities to benefit you. So if you guys are interested in the Preserve at Olmsted, I encourage you to visit buyolmsted.com. You can scan if you're not on your phone to sign up. I'll reach out to you and just understand your finances to see if you would be eligible or what we need to do to help you be eligible for this when the lottery process begins for it, okay? I'm going to send you the link again after this presentation so that you have it and you can review it again, sign up. What we do is we help you, right? Just like you guys just got the presentation, all of the down payment assistance programs out there, we're going to make sure, what do you need to do? What's your credit like? How much do you have saved? What's your income? And I'm honest with you guys, or blunt, however you want to say it, a truth teller. So if I know it's like your income doesn't cut it, it's like, well, you have choices to make, right? I want you to now brush up on that resume and go out and get a higher paying job. Had a young lady last year, I said, you don't make enough. You're making $30,000. You're not going to be able to buy anything anywhere near Boston. You're going as far out as possible to make this work. I need you to be at least $60,000. It took her a couple months. I think she was job searching for maybe 2 or 3 months, but she was able to literally double her income, where now she's making $62,000 and getting pay raises because she's doing such a great job that she can qualify for a home. She applied for the last lottery project I worked on, and she is under agreement now to close on her own condo because she did all the things that we said. We said you had to improve your credit. We had to save this amount. You need to make this much in income. She went and did everything. And now she's about to close on her first home in the next month. And she wants to be an investor. So she's like, this is my first one, so I don't have to worry about rent or prices going up. And then I'm going to save because I want to buy my multifamily. So she already has a plan of what she's going to do after she closes on this home. Okay. So if you're interested, definitely sign up. You'll get a call from me to see where you are. So I'll ask you some things about your finances. And if you need help, I'll connect you to the resources that you need to make sure you're successful. We also meet with people every first and third Monday of the month in the afternoon to go over some of the things that you need to be doing to make sure that you can qualify for a mortgage in general. And then I check on you every month. So you're going to get a call or a text or an email from me to see if you're staying on task. So I talked about the lady who reduced her student loan payment. She got that task last month, and I followed up with her yesterday to see how she was doing, and she gave me that update. So she's doing what she needs to do so she can buy a house, and she's focused on it, okay? So our goal is to make sure that you are qualified, so that you can apply for this opportunity or any homeownership opportunity that you want, okay? So we call it our first-time home buyer success plan and program because we want to work with you to make sure that you can qualify. I want to make sure you enlist in that stash program if you're a first-generation home buyer so you can get that $20,000. I want to make sure that your income is where it needs to fall so that you qualify for the up to $50,000 from the city of Boston, right? My goal is to make sure you're doing everything to qualify. And then here, go over some of the things that we talk about in the course when we meet, is helping you understand how much money do you need, right? People talk about, I'll save $10,000. Do you need $10,000? Do you need more? Do you need less? So here's a chart that shows you, again, depending on the purchase price, how much do you need to save? So that's how we help you hit your targets to make sure you have enough money to accomplish your goal of homeownership, okay? We also create savings challenges. So little, exciting tricks and competitions to help you stick to your goal because we know how much you need to save, right? If you need to save $1,000 in 12 months, you need to be saving $2.74 a day to accomplish that. If you know your goal is to save $20,000 in 12 months, you need to be saving $54 a day to make that a reality. And these numbers are important for you to know because a lot of people just throw numbers out and say, oh, I can do it. But then when we look at your budget, we see that that's not possible. So unless you're about to go get a second or a third job, what you just said is not reality. I like to work in reality and help you, even if it was a far-fetched dream, bring it back so it can become a reality because we put a plan together to help you get there, okay? We have our tracker to make sure you're writing down your goals and we're tracking what you're doing from month to month. So what's your income? What's your credit score? Because I want to see your credit score going up every month if you're doing what you're supposed to do. How much do you have saved? So we want to track all these things because then we can see what made you go off track, right? Like what set you off where you couldn't meet your goal that month? Or what did you do differently to help you accomplish your goal is what we want to do. So now I'm going to go through the chat and answer any questions that you guys have. Give me 1 second to scroll back up. You can keep putting your questions in the chat in the meantime. Mortgages there's a range. You can get a mortgage for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. There's even a 40-year mortgage. It depends on what you qualify for and what you can afford to pay. The shorter your mortgage time frame, so the less time you give yourself to pay off a mortgage, the higher your payments, right? Because you have less time to pay the same amount off. So it depends on your budget, what program or what product works best for you. So Olmsted, this project is currently under construction. It will be complete, or the lottery process anticipated to start by the end of the year, looking at even the top of the year, so January. We will let you guys know if you are interested. We'll keep you informed on the progress because, again, it's construction. Things happen. Snowstorms are a real thing. So we'll keep you posted on the progress of the project if you're interested to make sure that you are ready. So the one that we're working on now, that lottery happened in October or November of last year, and we're starting to close those units now. So we've gone through the lottery, they've been selected, they've gone and spoken to the lender, they've gotten all of their down payment assistance and all of that done, and now they're starting to close on those homes. So just to give you guys kind of a timeline of what it looks like. So if you have work that you need to get done on your finances, we have the time to make sure that we can do that, okay? So right here, I put my contact information if you guys have any questions. In the chat, they said, does it cover taxes? I'm wondering if that was when I showed you all of the calculations. Yes. In terms of the estimated housing costs, I did the math ahead of time. So it covered your principal and interest, so the actual mortgage on the house. You also have to pay taxes and insurance. So we put that estimate in there as well, in addition to the association fees, because you have that for these condos. So trying to make sure you guys have an idea of about what it would cost. And understanding that these numbers that I provided doesn't assume any interest rate reductions or anything like that. So it would be even less as long as interest rates don't keep doing what they've been doing, right? So if we can start to stabilize the interest rates, then it would be even more affordable for you. But that's where, again, these down payment programs, why they've been so aggressive in giving so much money is because interest rates have gone up so high that's making it a lot harder for people to afford. So the city said, we'll just put more money so you can still afford the house, even though the seller wants, whatever price that they want. The income tier that I showed you guys, a chart, you need to make at or below those numbers. So if you make above it, then you don't qualify at those prices. You need to make at or below that to qualify. The AMI looks slightly different from what you saw online. So every year, it depends on when you looked at it. Every year, the area median income calculation changes. It comes from the federal government. So the city of Boston does not determine that number. The federal government does it for the entire country. So you can find out the AMI for Florida, for Georgia, for California. You can find it out for any state in any town because they calculate that at the federal level and then they share it. So then the city makes it available for you. It changes every year. And then even within that, different programs have their own restrictions as well. So it depends. For this one, they're using the numbers from the federal government. Can you buy a 3-bedroom with a 2-person household? Yes. So usually they say it's the number of bedrooms minus 1 person to help you qualify. I'll be honest with you, they prioritize the lottery in terms of household size. So if you are a 2-person household looking to buy a 3-bedroom, you can apply. But if there are people who have 3, 4, 5 people in their family or in their household, they're going to be prioritized before you because they need it more than you do. You're pre-planning and they're like, in reality, right now, I need these bedrooms, okay? Nope, those numbers came from the One Plus Boston. So it depends on if you looked at it recently or not to determine the price. Yep, so the property is located in Morton and Harvard. That's where kind of the project, the development is. So you can drive in there and you'll see it. Also, if you go American Legion, by the Brooks School, that's also another phase of the project in there as well. Or another entry, I should say. I love that. I think it's Esmerit. Thank you. Yes, wealth is not always about money, but money does play a factor, right? So even if health is important, if you don't have the money to eat right, you don't have the money to take care of yourself, you're not going to enjoy a lot of health wealth or physical or emotional wellness. You're going to be stressed, right? So although money is not all that's important, it is a factor in making sure you can access the things that you need to be successful. Is there a fee for my services? There's not a fee for scheduling a consultation with me. I just want to make sure that you guys can purchase a home, that you can build wealth for your family. There's no fee. I don't think there's a fee for the Stash program to enroll in it. There is a fee to take the first-time home buyer class. It ranges from $25 to $50, I believe, $25 to $75 for the first-time home buyer, the 8-hour course. Because they want to make sure you're invested, because when it was free, people would register and not show up. So example, tonight, this was a free event. We've had half the people that registered show up tonight, right? So people just don't show up. So when they charge, that ensures that you do attend because you don't want to lose the money, hopefully. But it's reasonable because it's valid for 3 years. So you're paying $25 for something that's good for 3 years. It's not a bad deal. And it's information that you need, right? So I think that's a good thing. So you have to pay for that class. But outside of that, everything else, I believe, is free. My services are free to schedule that consultation. Hold on one moment. Are there cheap houses for low-income families? So I wouldn't say cheap, they're affordable homes. Yes. So these projects are meant to be affordable, so that people can purchase them depending on their income. If you are extremely low income, then you may be on some form of assistance depending on the provider. So if you have BHA, we'll be doing a presentation on August 16th. So that email is going to come, where we talk about how residents or recipients of the BHA voucher can use that to purchase a home. And how it works is just how you pay 30% of your income towards your rent now, and the difference is paid by BHA. The same thing would happen when you purchase a home. 30% of your income goes towards your mortgage, and then BHA covers the rest of it for 15 years. So it's not forever. They give you a time frame. And then they also have down payment assistance up to $75,000 that they're giving you to also help you purchase a home in the city of Boston. So when I tell you there's a lot of resources out there, there's a lot of resources out there. I didn't talk about that today only because that presentation is coming up in 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll talk about that opportunity specifically then. My thoughts on NACA. NACA is awesome. As long as you know ahead of time, it's a pain in the butt. It's stressful. You want to pull your hair out. You want to choke someone. But the end result is you got a house for no money down. The process takes a while. They are short-staffed, so their turnover is really high. So communication is slow. But they have the lowest interest rate, period. You don't have to come out of pocket for a down payment, but you still need to have money to pay for, to submit your offer, to pay for an inspection, to pay for your appraisal. There's still costs, so you still need to have money, but you don't have to put a down payment with them to purchase a home. But if you did have money, you could use it to further buy down your interest rate. So I have a friend who purchased a home with NACA, and he had money saved, but he leveraged, and he lowering his interest rate. So his interest rate on his 2-family is, if I remember correctly, I think it's 1.85 or 1.55, something like that. Ridiculous, because that's where he put his money. So NACA is awesome as long as you know you're going to be, or there's a high probability that you will be frustrated along the process. Get an agent who understands it, so they can walk you and keep you sane throughout the process, but it is worth it. Stash is currently closed. That's unfortunate. I will double check and see, because they were still advertising that, so I'll check. Nope. If you missed this session, don't worry. You're going to get the replay so you can rewatch it. I think that's everything for the questions. So thank you guys. Is BHA the only yes. So if you have a voucher, it's only BHA right now that has this particular program for where a portion of you can take your voucher and turn it into a home ownership voucher. It's specific to BHA. Metro Housing has their own form of down payment assistance. I believe it's $5,000 that they give you, but I'm not sure. I'm going to work to have them come do a presentation as well. So next month, we will have BHA coming in and doing the presentation on their program and their product and how it works. And we're actually going to do it where, specific to this project on Olmsted Green, what do the numbers look like? Because if you pile on the up to 50, well, the 5% from the city, the 5% from Mass Dreams, the 75,000 from BHA. If you did the stash program, you have their money, you can knock off over $100,000 on the purchase price of a house, right? So we're going to do some analysis of those numbers specific to these programs to see what you can do. Okay, so I think that's it if no one else has any questions. If I don't have your email, however you got this, I will follow up so that you guys have access to the replay. And if you want to schedule a consultation or you have further questions, to reach out, because I want to make sure if you can buy, that you buy. People who waited, I remember in 2015 when people said, it was too expensive. I'm from Hyde Park. It was too expensive in Hyde Park to buy the 3-family for $500,000. I'm just going to wait. The market's going to crash. I'm not paying $500,000 for a 3-family. They waited, and now that same 3-family that they said was going to come down in price is now $1 million. So it doubled in price in those years. I don't want that to be you, because now those people cannot buy, right? They are officially priced out unless they got a pay increase to make up that difference. I don't want that to be you. If you want to be a homeowner, focus from today. Get a plan together so you can buy, because all of this money is not forever. At some point, it's going to run out. And I want to make sure that as many people can qualify to purchase using all of these resources, because they're grants, right? You don't have to worry about paying it back. Okay, I've helped a lot of my close friends be able to leverage it, a lot of clients, a lot of people be able to buy, because with all of this money, it's actually cheaper to own than it is to rent in the city of Boston right now, if you do it right. So we want to help you guys be successful. Thank you. Have a wonderful night. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you are excited and not discouraged looking at the market, because there's a lot of money out there to make it possible for you to own. If you have bad credit, don't be discouraged. Reach out, right? We can put a plan together. We can connect you to the resources out there to help you repair your credit, right? If you don't have money saved, we might have to make some sacrifices. I did a consultation with a lady last week, and she loves to take trips. I'm like, well, you're down to a trip a year now because you want to buy a house. If you keep taking these trips, you'll never have money for a down payment. Trips don't buy houses. So we need to make a sacrifice for a moment, for a short amount of time, to have a lifetime of wealth building opportunities. Okay? So have a wonderful evening. Go be great. Pay it forward. Bless someone else. Thank you, guys.